after Nico Harrison talked about the Mavs offseason the other day, I said, you know what? Let's rank the current GM confidence levels that you have on the Franklin Franco Injury Attorney text line, 877-881-1053. 877-881-1053. In no particular order. You start off with Nico Harrison, Chris Young, World Series ring, Jim Nill, Dallas Stars greatness, and of course, well, I guess not of course, because Bobby just asked me in the commercial break, who are we listing as the GM, Jerry Jones or Will McClay? That is up to you. 1, 2, 3, 4. Who feels set in their order right now?
I feel set with number 1.
Okay.
And that's Jim Nill. I'll leave the Cowboys out of this, but between him and Nico and Chris Young, Jim is the only one that is responsible for basically every player on the roster. Luka was here. John Daniels built a lot of the players on the Rangers roster. Yeah, I know, right? Can't even announce that, but it's true. Jim basically built the entire Dallas Stars roster, and they went to a Cup final a couple years ago, and they went to the West Finals this year, and they won the West. They were the second most points in the league. One seed. He's got a long history of success. And again, he's responsible for basically everybody here. And you can't really say that about Chris and Nico. So I will say Jim Nill is no. I have a lot of confidence he's number 1.
Okay.
So beyond that, then I think it gets more dicey.
Do you have a 1?
Yeah, Jim Nill is the one that I was thinking too. And I mean, he just, whatever the name of that award is for being the general manager of the year hockey, he just got that. All of his moves have generally clicked into place for the Stars. The other 3 behind that are difficult because I think it depends on how you value young player development versus free agent acquisition or outside veteran acquisition and the way you stack that sort of thing. I would then lean towards whatever we want to call it, operating decisions coming out of, like, roster decisions coming out of the Cowboys. The Cowboys have built a roster consistently while being cheap and outside free agency and at times, not having the right draft capital. They hit more consistently than any of these 4 on the list on guys where the initial reaction from everyone else on a player they picked or whatever else is gross. This guy's going to be a bust. They hit on those players more consistently where they show you they're really good at what they do and know how to identify talent better than what conventional thinking says.
Woo!
So I would go with that one from a player acquisition standpoint.
All right, let's just stop it right there. So you have the Cowboys at 2. You have Jerry/Will at 2, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I could stack any of the 3 behind him.
So I initially put Jerry last. And I'm going to guess on the fan text, Jerry's 4th.
Oh, Jerry is not 4th. He's 5th.
Behind Greg Bibb at the Wings.
Yeah, behind the Dallas Wings and whoever FC Dallas guys got.
Right. Now, what I need to remind myself of here, what I'm trying not to do is overrating the Rangers title for CY and remember what they were during the regular season and try not to underrate the Cowboys' regular seasons and their lack of playoff success.
I mean,
that's my hard struggle here.
That's going to be hard to do. Listen, I told
because you do have
the Cowboys win 12 games a year.
You do have a 12-win football team every year.
Every year.
That's impressive.
And I keep going back to it. And I sound like a broken record, but you basically go back to Bill Parcells as the last time the Cowboys didn't have a winning record in a year in which their quarterback did not get hurt, or at least a 500 record.
Yeah, they were 500 a couple years.
So, but the last of the 4 times they've had a losing record since like 2005, every single year there's been a catastrophic injury to the quarterback. Romo collarbone, Dak ankle, and Dak had the calf injury or whatever.
But they went 12-5 that year still. So that wasn't even a year where they were affected by it.
Yeah, you're right.
Thanks to Cooper Rush.
It's been that long. I guess the first one would have been Quincy. When Quincy, not even Quincy, but it's been that long.
Yeah.
So they lost their quarterback to some catastrophic injury or booger sugar, and that was it. And That's the only time in basically 20 years the Cowboys have had losing records is when an injury has happened. To me, that is as sustained success as you can get.
Okay.
That's not a bad GM. So if you want to put him second, I wouldn't fight you. I won't. I'll put Chris second. I do think he's done a really nice job.
Even with all that JD credit?
I mean, I don't think there's any argument. Yeah, you have to credit JD. But Chris also stabilized things. The farm system seems better. On the surface, it seems better.
Mm-hmm.
You could tell they've changed their philosophy in drafting. They've gone away from the prep players and gone towards college. Hasn't worked yet, but it kind of has. You know, Wyatt Langford made it up here. Leiter's made it up here. At least Leiter's made it. So I think CY would be number 2.
After Jerry and Will, I'm going to put Chris Young third. Is who would be next there. Because Chris Young, like, again, you're right. There is a little bit of revisionist history in terms of what John Daniels did versus what Chris Young's done. But Chris Young, he is always, almost every single second, it feels like he's going like, how can we get better? How can I get better? How can I find this? And
he's a bulldog.
He's willing to do anything to make them better. And if something's wrong, he tries to adjust and goes, okay, pivot. That didn't work. Move on to something else. And their hit rate has been pretty good with a lot of his moves. So I'd have Chris Young third and then Nico fourth.
My issue with Nico is I have no idea what input and Mark Cuban has had.
So McMahon told us.
Well, what is Jerry doing versus Will?
I assume it's all Will.
So McMahon told us last week that Nico is pretty heavily involved in basketball decisions, like in terms of just player evaluation and the things that they do, more so than I knew, because that's one of the things we've talked about this year. I've said, like, I don't know how much he does versus, is he a figurehead? Is he actually doing a lot of player evaluation? I just don't know those things. The only reason why I would have Nico fourth is just because, as you've pointed out before, do they get credit for the Kyrie trade? Because that was desperation. It's like, got to do something. Yeah. I don't know that was like a great evaluation, but yeah, they hit on Lively was a hit. Gafford, PJ. It's all been in this. It's basically one offseason that went really well. Yeah. So it's about sustained success for me.
All right. Rank the DFW GMs right now, conference level, in them at 877-881-1053. I wanted to see how high Nico would be on the list, that you're confident in him this offseason, as handcuffed as they may be, with an over-the-top move. K-Twiz on Twitter. I'll take care of Twitter. Peyton's got the Tolos on the text. Nill, Young, Nico, Jerry, Chase Henderson. The other three, 50 feet of you-know-what, then Jerry. Chris, Jones last. The other three, a toss-up in whatever order. Chad, CY, Nico, Nill, Jones. So Jerry is bringing it up the rear here on Twitter.
It is super hard to find any Tolo out there that has Jerry any higher than 4. And 469 says Chris Young 1, Nico 2, Jim Nill 3, and then Jerry Jones 6 on the list after the Dallas Wings GM and FC Dallas GM. 682, Nico, CY, Jim Nill, and Jerry. 972, about similar. CY, Jim Nill, Nico, and Jerry 4th.
So what's your 1 through 4 officially, Choppy? Nill
1 and Chris Young 2. I think
you're gonna go Jerry.
I think
Nico.
I would probably go the Cowboys 3. I mean, because remember, my issue with the Mavs is, they missed the playoffs last year. Then this year, they were a 10 seed prior to the trade deadline. Now they made a great trade, and that's something that Nico gets credit for.
Yeah, two good trades.
And the Lively pickup is something that absolutely gets credit for. There's just not enough length of sustained success. So I think by default, I got to put him there.
I'm going to go Nill, CY, Nico, Jerry. That's going to be mine. Nill, CY, Nico, Jerry.
I think the only thing that's solidified to me is Nill. Like Nill's the only one solidified. Nill's the slam dunk at number 1. And if you stack 2, 3, 4 in any order, I don't totally think it's a bad argument.
And I'm not even saying Jerry. I'm saying the Cowboys. As I don't know, because if it's just Jerry, I'll put him 4th. But I think it's Will McClay.
But I think
put him. I would actually. I think Will McClay is, correct me if I'm wrong, the best personnel guy in the area, in the city.
Probably. I would say, like, in terms of evaluating talent. Here's just the thing. With Jerry, the question is, what do you give him credit for? Do you say, well, he's not making those sort of decisions, or do you give him credit for evolving and putting in place a structure of, here is a brain trust essentially where we develop consensus and then I rule on consensus being made. Like, if that's a mature, effective way to manage the team and build the roster, then you would think he'd get credit for that. Or do you step back and say, yeah, but he's not making like all the personnel evaluations and everything, and so you can't give him that sort of credit. The thing is that the Cowboys have a very unique way. The reason why they've had success, I think, is they treat it almost like a jury trying to get a 12-0 verdict, where it's like, if there's disagreement, we're sitting here and we're working this out and we're having discussions and debating it until we get consensus.
Yeah, they put let's be fair, they put a great product on the field every year. The other teams necessarily can't say that every single year they put a 12-win team on the field every year for 3 straight years. They just have not gotten it done when it matters.